Welcome to Michigan Reimagined, presented by T.A. Forsberg. And here's your host, Chris Buck.
So Michigan has a powerful network of airports throughout the state that makes significant contributions to the region's economy. Here to discuss the Capital Regional Airport Authority's recent exciting activities is the president and CEO, Nicole Noll-WIlliams. Welcome to the show, Nicole.
Great to be with you.
So tell us a little bit more about your career path, if you don't mind starting there. Like, how long have you been at the helm at the airport? And I understand this is a returning to home.
It is. So I'm just shy of 2 years being back as the president and CEO for the Capital Region Airport Authority. I've actually been in the industry since early 90. I started out working for United, loading and unloading planes and de-icing aircrafts.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I got into sales, covered Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, and did corporate and travel agency sales. Was the station manager for their operation here in Lansing. So started really in the airline side of the house, and then it transferred into travel management. So many of the travel policies throughout the region for state of Michigan, Michigan State University, insurance companies, manufacturers, and we had clients throughout the United States.
Sure.
So we were involved in really helping to negotiate and consolidate travel programs for corporations. And then I worked for the airport for 14 years. So it started out really as a sales position, and then it grew into development, public information officer, many other pieces throughout the years. And then I had the opportunity to join U.S. Senator Gary Peters' office as a director for him here in the Mid-Michigan region. And then I've been, of course, back for 2 years with the airport. So it's been a fun career. Well,
that's got to be, that's the right way to do it, right? To bring someone in off the street, or even someone who's just kind of been in, I don't know. I think growing someone from within is going to give them the objectivity to understand all the nuances of how this place ticks.
Well, and I think that's one of the benefits, as I'm working with our tenants and our vendors that we have at the airport today, I can relate. I understand the challenges they're dealing with because I've been there. I've played that role. And I think it also provides those opportunities of how I can navigate, maybe help support them in their efforts to improve their service levels, as well as supporting our customers that are coming in and out of the airport.
Got it. Well, I think John Q. Public thinks airports, they think flying off to exotic destinations.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about the passenger transport. Who flies out of there? Where do you tend to go? Talk about that side of the house for a minute, because we're going to talk about the other side that most people really don't see.
Right. Here in Lansing, or in the state of Michigan, Delta Airlines, of course, is our anchor airline here in the state. And so we've got nonstop service to Detroit right now. They just upgauged the aircraft to 76 seaters. So it gives that dual cabin capabilities to fly right from Lansing. So those folks that are out there that want to be able to sit in a Comfort Plus or a first class service, they can do that right from Lansing.
Nice.
To kick their flights off. And then the American Airlines service that we have to Chicago O'Hare, and also to Washington, D.C., into the Reagan National Airport. Avelo Airlines started up service in October of this past year, and they offer nonstop flights to Orlando International Airport. And we look forward to some future growth with Avelo and destinations and opportunities for us. And then the Apple Vacations charters. So
did that to Punta a couple of years ago, and that was fantastic.
Yeah, the Apple Vacations service started back in 2010. In the first year, we had, 15 international departures. This past year, we had over 50 international departures, and 3 weekly to Cancun, 2 weekly to Punta Cana, and 1 to Montego Bay. So it starts late January, runs until Easter. Great service, great load factors this year. They've done extremely well. So we look forward to them coming back again next year.
That's great. Good. We need it. And it's right on time. January to April. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
All right. So I mentioned this other side. So maybe my vernacular is wrong, but the air cargo division?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? I've been reading press releases prepping for this call. So there's a huge... It's somewhat anonymous. Unless you're in the industry and you are in, logistics and transporting goods, you probably don't know that Lansing is a robust cargo hub. So talk a little bit about what has been there and the legacy of how impactful that is for the region and how that area is used.
Yeah, as you're thinking of airports, you automatically think of the passenger side, right? So as I came back to the airport, it's really looking at diversifying revenues and services that we have available. So not only are we working on expanding domestic international passenger services, we're also focusing on how do we create opportunities for growth and cargo development, land development, as well as supporting in corporate and general aviation opportunities. So what you're referring to is our cargo side of the house. We got 63 million pounds of cargo that come in and out of Lansing. UPS is our main carrier out of there, and then they have suppliers of Martinair, Ameriflight, X-Wing that's also tied in with Martinair with their services and some growth, some future opportunities with them. But a majority of the products that are going in and out of the airport on airplanes are next day. Those are those next day packages that you want at your doorstep, those items that need to be shipped for business. And it's all packages on UPS that are next day in the entire state of Michigan, some neighboring states, outside of downtown or the metro Detroit area. So they pull packages from the UP on these smaller aircrafts, and it's just basically a logistics circle. So you're transporting packages up to the northern Michigan, the UP, as well as those airplanes being filled to turn around and fill up the UPS plane that's leaving, or multiple planes, depending on the day.
Right. So, you think about that. So, I mean, Michigan is a place where we make stuff, right? So manufacturing and moving supply and, supply chain type stuff. Then you got the state capital. So clearly like stuff like certainly pre-internet and PDFs and DocuSigns and all that kind of stuff, I would imagine just a lot of things needed to kind of come and go. And then the advent of what I'll just call the Amazon effect and how retail has morphed, and the pandemic has caused that to slingshot. So this is a huge growth, right? I mean, we've always had cargo moving around.
We have.
But now is it fair to say that it's been a real accelerated
from the pandemic?
Growth?
Really, the pandemic helped to make an initial push,
right?
Or an additional push into the amount of packages coming and going. And we've gotten accustomed to having these products available to us next day at our doorstep.
Complaining that someone's not hand delivering it within 48 hours.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yes. And so that's where these capabilities are helping to provide these types of services. And what we need to do is make sure that we're planning for the future.
Right.
So if our cargo ramp, which it is today, during peak times with an MD-11, an A300 UPS plane out there, and all of these additional suppliers that have aircrafts that are parked on the current ramp, we're pretty much tapped out on space.
Right.
So if we're going to have growth, if we're going to help prepare and support efforts that Michigan Economic Development Corporation is working on, that LEAP is working, Lansing Economic Area Partners, if we are going to help prepare to support them and their efforts for growth, we have to make sure we have basically the foundation to support it.
Right.
And that's why we've kicked off this two-phased extension addition to our cargo ramp that we have right now.
Which is fantastic. So that just got announced officially to the public, right? I know you've been working feverishly behind the scenes, and you may have whispered in my ear that this was, being applied for and hopefully going to be successful. So talk about the process of that. I mean, was that competitive? I mean, are there a lot of other ports that are vying for, well, first of all, where did the dollars come from?
Yeah.
Was it competitive? And what was the process to try to sell the story that the funders should pick Lansing?
Right. So when I returned back as the president and CEO for the airport, you start looking at where there's some opportunities, what's missing, what hasn't been moving forward, and how can we help make a change, right? So we look at our master plan that really has that future forward thinking of 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And you develop these projects that are, so to speak, on the shelf that you can go after and start looking at. And this is one of the last phases for the cargo ramp that was phase 2 and 3 that was still sitting there that needed to be done. So what we did is as soon as I came on, I put a request in. I kind of caught the tail end of the earmark request. Congressionally directed spending.
Okay.
Made the request for funding. We did get awarded $8.183 million as part of
8.183?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Not 8.1829.
Nope.
No. And you're going to spend every nickel
every
of it.
dime, every penny, right?
Right.
So we were awarded that project, and then from there we look at other opportunities. Where is there some grant dollars that we can go after on the federal side? So we've got a couple additional funding sources that are supporting. We also, with the expansion of our cargo ramp, we have to have an additional container pond, a de-icing pond. So the fluid fluid that's sprayed on an aircraft.
Right.
During the winter months, we had some snow yesterday. We have to have ourselves prepared to address the amount of additional traffic that could eat up that space. So that the size of the expansion is like 7 football fields. Yes.
Okay.
So it's a significant increase into what we have, just over doubling the space. But
I was going to ask what you currently have. So
yep.
just more than double. Okay.
Yep. And then what we're doing is we also were awarded $2 million congressionally directed spending from the state side.
Okay.
So that'll help provide support necessary to add an additional container pond, really to support. The entire cargo ramp will be supported in one container area, and then we'll have our original one that will support the passenger side that we have. So between all those fundings plus some local match, the project was kicked off, and we will be done by the end of this year.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Because are there buildings involved?
No buildings.
Right. Okay. So
No
it's a
buildings.
little easier to...
Correct.
You're not putting in carpet and lighting and electrical and toilets and all that. I mean, for the most part, it's infrastructure almost, right?
We're lighting the space for future,
right?
Because a lot of the operations when you were talking about cargo is early in the morning and late at night. So those are the two pieces. You definitely have to have the lighting aspect that's tied into it. And but yeah, this will be a quick project, really, when it's all said and done. And we've got some mock-up designs for cross-dock facilities. So as we continue to talk to air cargo partners, domestic and internationally, where are their opportunities? How can we help support them? And making sure they are aware that there is growth potential with these cross-dock warehouse type facilities that could benefit them when they're ready to go.
Fantastic. Well, it's a fantastic development. We're going to talk about another development, but first I just want to quickly pause and talk about when it comes to creating commercial and residential spaces. There's no one I trust more than my friends at the Forsberg Real Estate Company. Brent Forsberg and his team take a holistic approach in creating an environment that suits your needs while creating a foundation for a prosperous community. Since the 1950s, Forsberg has been a name to trust if you're looking for a partner on a project, to occupy great space, deliver work, or simply follow one of the great thought leaders in our state. Reach out to my friends at Forsberg Real Estate Company by calling 517-349-9330 or check out their website at lansingrealestate.com. You will not regret it. So talking about additional development, you also made another announcement with another local massive employer that we're also proud of that's doing an expansion in their own right. Talk about the Niawave setup.
That's right. Niawave has their airport campus where they right now produce medical grade isotopes. And the need for them to build at the airport location was they needed that quick next day type delivery.
Okay.
The products that they're producing has a short shelf life. They need to get the product moving. The day we announced our cargo ramp, basically our groundbreaking kickoff, they did make a soft launch announcement that they're adding an additional building at the airport. We're anticipating a third quarter groundbreaking for that project. And they've got a few things they just got to wrap up with federal approvals on some of the design of their building. And as all those details come together, we're looking forward to them expanding and for us to be able to help provide support for the products that they're going to be manufacturing.
Right. And I think that's such great synergy, right? And I've always kind of prided, I'll just call it Lansing, LAN. I'm an airport guy, so LAN, right? Yeah. So the amount of outreach that you do, I mean, you're sponsoring events, you've got a great news and media, section on your website, you've got quarterly newsletters. Yeah. Why, and it obviously transfers into these kinds of development projects. Why do you think it's so important for an airport to have kind of a PR bent? Because again, as a layperson, you're so close to it, you probably don't even recognize, but as a layperson, I don't think I've ever seen an airport do as much for the community. Well,
I think it's important that we create these opportunities. These kinds of conversations create business opportunities, right? If we aren't out there, if we're not talking, if we're not making folks aware of the cargo opportunities, land development opportunities, then we're kind of really not standing up to support economic development and growth in this region. And so we are a tool for the region. We're a tool for Bob Tresice and his team. Mm-hmm. We're an asset to the Chamber of Commerce, Tim Damon over at the Chamber for his membership. So if we're not out there making people aware of what we can help and how we can support them, shame on us. So, I mean, really, even when I first came on board, we start talking about issues with pilot shortage. right?
Right.
So you hear a lot about pilot shortage. There's not a lot discussed about why there's a pilot shortage. So at the age of 65, you're required to retire. During the pandemic, they offered a lot of early retirements for folks. And so we had already retired a large group. We have this influx of everybody's ready to get on a plane and travel somewhere for a leisure destination.
They call that revenge travel.
Yeah. We had that whole pendulum kind of go, and there just wasn't enough pilots coming into the system. Now, this isn't just from yesterday. We're talking about something that happened in federal changes back in 2013 that requires a pilot to fly in the right seat from 250 hours required up to 1,500 hours. That additional cost is about $80,000 of additional training if you go through kind of your standard operations of training. So, and with that high cost for training and really low salaries at the time still for pilots, or not, maybe not as when you first start out, the salaries were pretty low. That's changed as well. We're starting to see a lot of great opportunities for folks that want to become pilots. And so we started having these discussions with superintendents throughout the region. And Sean over at Eaton RESA said, let's take the lead in this. And they're starting up a flight program named Aviation Program that'll start this fall right at the Lansing Airport.
Okay.
They have over 50 students that are signed up to start into the program. So it's half day. Because of the interest so great, they're doing it 2 half days. I mean, basically a morning session and an afternoon session.
Okay.
But we've got kids from Eaton, Clinton, Ingham County, juniors and seniors in high school that are coming out to the Lansing Airport starting this fall to get involved, introduced to aviation. And some of the kids have actually already started flying.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
Working
to
on
have
getting
that
their
here.
hours. Yeah.
Right. And that's, for lack of a better word, that's a sexy role. To be a pilot is pretty cool. And I think, kids need to kind of be hit over the head with, this is something you can do. And here's the resources, and we want you to do this.
Yes.
And isn't it cool? And that's exciting.
But as you said, it all goes back to us being involved in the community and kind of highlighting where there's some areas and opportunities that are there and finding the right partners to come together. And, MSU FCU is a partner with this project as well, helping to provide additional loans for parents, students that want to get their training hours in, as well as scholarship program that they've kicked off as well, a $10,000 scholarship program for those that are interested in this field.
Okay. How can they learn more?
Come visit the airport's website, flylansing.com. There's more details there. Touch base with Eaton RESA. Again, any kid in any school in Ingham, Clinton, Eaton County can all attend. But I think they're close to being full, but definitely reach out.
Right on.
And it just, it ties into, we own the Mason Jewett Airport as well.
Yep.
And it ties into Lansing Community College aviation mechanics program that they have down at LCC. That program's been around for 65 years.
Is that right?
Yeah. And it just continues to grow. There's 89 students that are in the class and the training right now down at LCC. It's a 2-year degree program. They're completing 9 FAA exams. And basically, many of them are walking out with a $60K plus job offer and still being able to stay in the state of Michigan. There's opportunities with aerospace manufacturing, working for corporate general aviation aircraft companies, FBOs. So there's a lot of opportunities there as well.
You mentioned LCC.
Yeah.
And I've been noticing in the press that you've been awarded some recognition by LCC. Talk a little bit about that and how that makes you feel.
Yeah, super, just honored. I'm the Distinguished Alumni Award recipient for 2023. So Deb Hart nominated me.
Okay.
Some additional support came from Bob Hoffman, who is an LCC grad, from past President Paula Cunningham, and Dean Chris Holman.
Okay.
For LCC. He was a dean for LCC as well. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That guy's done everything.
He's done a lot. But definitely an honor and pleased. And I'll be attending commencement next week on May 11th.
Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
I know we're up against the clock, but I could talk to you for hours.
Yeah, same here. Thank you.
We've been talking to the president and CEO of the Capital Regional Airport Authority, Nicole Noll-WIlliams. Congratulations on all the success and all the expansion. And I do want to thank our sponsors, Wagoner Financial. Reach them at wagonerfinancial.com. And you can reach T.A. Forsberg at lansingrealestate.com. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today.